So you just watched the World Cup. You and about half the planet. And somewhere between the group stage and that final whistle, one organization quietly finished the most profitable event in the history of sport. Not a team, not a TV network. FIFA. Here's the number. Almost $9 billion. From one summer. And here's the strange part. FIFA doesn't own a single stadium. It didn't pay for the trains, or the police, or the security. The cities did. 16 of them, each burning through $100 million or more for a party that lasted 39 days. So today, we're tearing this thing open. How does a nonprofit, yes, technically a nonprofit, collect $9 billion, largely tax-free? Who actually pays for the biggest show on earth? And why do cities line up and beg for a deal this one-sided? By the end, you'll never watch a World Cup the same way again. Let's start with the pitch, because every World Cup begins the same way, with a promise. Host the tournament, and the world shows up holding its wallet. Millions of visiting fans, packed hotels, full restaurants, global TV cameras pointed at your skyline for a month. The consultants even put numbers on it. For 2026, boosters projected billions in economic impact for North America. Jobs, tourism, legacy. Politicians love this pitch because it sounds like free money. And look, the demand is real. 104 matches, 48 national teams, the biggest World Cup ever played in front of enormous crowds all summer. So the story writes itself. Biggest tournament, biggest crowds, biggest payday for everyone, right? Well, here's the catch. Independent economists who study mega events keep reaching the same uncomfortable conclusion. The visitors are real, the excitement is real, but for the host, the profit usually isn't. Those glossy impact studies? They're almost always commissioned by the people selling the event, and the independent reviews that come later rarely find the promised billions. To see why, you have to watch who signs which checks. Start with what the host paid. Security isn't optional when the whole planet is watching. For 2026, the U.S. federal government put aside $625 million for World Cup preparations, plus another $221 million specifically for host city security. And the cities themselves? Each of the 16 was expected to spend $100 million or more. Police overtime, transit, fan festivals, cleanup, stadium retrofits. And honestly, that was the cheap version of hosting. Because 2026 had one enormous advantage. The stadiums already existed. Giant NFL arenas, borrowed for a summer and fitted with real grass. Nobody had to pour concrete. Now compare that to the expensive version. Qatar spent over $200 billion building a World Cup from the sand up. Stadiums, a metro system, hotels, entire districts. Brazil built a $400 million arena in Manaus, a city deep in the Amazon. It hosted 4 matches, then almost nothing. There's a name for these: white elephants. Giant, beautiful, empty. And here's the detail most people miss. The host doesn't just pay, it also agrees not to collect. To win hosting rights, governments guarantee FIFA's sweeping tax exemptions. The billions in broadcast and sponsorship money? They flow to FIFA largely untaxed. Your city pays the police, FIFA skips the tax bill. And that's not a scandal, it's the contract. Every host signs it. Why? Because if your country won't, another one will. Economists actually have a name for what happens next: the winner's curse. The bidder most willing to overpay wins. But what about the famous tourism boom? It's complicated. Yes, fans fly in, but regular tourists stay away, scared off by the crowds and the prices. Locals leave town. Hotels fill up at rates negotiated years earlier. Study after study finds the net tourism bump is smaller than promised. Sometimes it rounds to zero. So if the hosts are paying this much, where is all that money actually going? To understand how it got this lopsided, rewind 50 years. The World Cup used to be a sports event that television covered. Then television became the business, and FIFA realized the cameras were worth more than the tickets. 1994 was the proof of concept. The United States hosted for the first time. No new stadiums, borrowed arenas, and the crowds shattered attendance records that stood for decades. FIFA learned two things that summer. America will pack any stadium you point at, and America has already built the stadiums. 2026 was the sequel. 3 countries, 16 ready-made venues, the richest consumer market on earth. FIFA didn't expand the tournament to 48 teams for romance either. More teams means more matches. More matches means more broadcast hours. More hours means more inventory to sell. 104 games, up from 64. The product line grew 60% overnight, and the costs of that growth landed, well, you already know where they landed. Follow the money coming in, because this is where the design gets honestly kind of beautiful. FIFA earns from 4 big streams, and it owns every single one of them. Stream 1. Television. Broadcasters across the planet pay billions for the right to show these matches, because nothing else on TV gathers this many humans in one place at one time. Stream 2. Sponsors. The boards you see around the pitch? Global brands pay hundreds of millions to stand next to the only event half the world watches together. Stream 3. Tickets and hospitality. We'll get to that one. And Stream 4. Licensing. The video games. The shirts. The little golden trophy on a keychain. Add it up, and FIFA expected around $13 billion across this 4-year cycle, with almost $9 billion arriving from the 2026 tournament alone. One summer, $9 billion. And remember, the stadiums, the security, the trains? Someone else's bill. Now, tickets, because 2026 ran a fascinating experiment. For the first time at this scale, FIFA priced World Cup seats the way airlines price flights, dynamically. Demand goes up, the price goes up, and demand went up. Premium seats for the final reached $32,970, face value, 1 seat. Resale prices for cheaper seats floated near $11,000. And if that sounds excessive, FIFA sold on-field hospitality packages, private suites, champagne, a spot on the grass, starting at $1 million for a group of 12. Fans grumbled. Then fans paid. Because that's what a monopoly on magic looks like. There is exactly one World Cup final every 4 years, and exactly one organization selling chairs to it. When you own the only door into an experience, the price isn't really a price anymore. It's a test of how much the world loves the thing you control. And the world keeps passing the test. To be fair, FIFA does spend real money on this show. Its operating budget for the tournament ran about $3.8 billion, and 2026 paid out the biggest prize pool in World Cup history, $871 million. The champions took home $50 million. Even teams knocked out in the group stage flew home with about $10 million each. Sounds generous, until you hold it next to the pile. $871 million out of a $13 billion cycle. That's roughly 7 cents of every dollar going to the actual teams, the players, the product, the thing everyone tuned in to watch. 7 cents on the dollar. And unlike a league, the players can't exactly negotiate. There's no union for national teams, no lockout, no rival World Cup to sign with. Any other entertainment business would call that a rounding error. Hollywood stars take 20% of the gross. Top athletes in U.S. leagues collectively negotiate about half of all revenue. The best footballers on earth, at their sport's biggest moment? 7%. Split 48 ways. So put the two halves together and admire the shape of this machine. The hosts pay the costs, carry the risk, keep the memories. FIFA owns the brand, sells the rights, keeps the profit, skips the tax, and flies home in August. FIFA cannot lose. Structurally, contractually, cannot lose. It owns no stadium that can sit empty. It employs no star who can get injured. It carries no debt on any arena in the Amazon. Its one asset is a name, the World Cup, and a signature on a contract that hands it the upside of the world's biggest event, while someone else underwrites the downside. That is the actual product FIFA has perfected over 90 years. Not football, risk transfer. The tournament on your TV is a football event. The tournament on FIFA's books is the cleanest business model in sports. Everyone else pays to build the party. One organization charges the world for invitations, which leaves the obvious question. If the deal is this lopsided, why do cities keep fighting for it? 3 honest reasons. 1. The benefits are visible and the costs are quiet. A packed stadium makes the evening news. Police overtime doesn't. For a politician, that trade is irresistible. 2. Sometimes the intangibles are actually real. Global attention, civic pride, your city's skyline broadcast to billions. You genuinely cannot buy that ad slot. 3. And this is the smart one, hosts are learning. The 2026 model, borrow stadiums instead of building them, was the cheapest World Cup formula in decades. No white elephants, no decade of debt. If you already own the arenas, the airports, the hotels, hosting stops being a construction project and becomes a marketing campaign. That's the version where a host can actually come out ahead. The lesson isn't never host. The lesson is simpler, and it fits on a sticky note. Never build. Borrow everything. Let the circus rent your tent. Don't sew a new one. And that lesson travels far beyond football. Look at almost any industry and ask one question. Who owns the scarce thing? Because that's who wins. FIFA doesn't own stadiums. It owns the World Cup, a piece of intellectual property nobody else can replicate. The stadium is replaceable. The rights are not. It's the same reason the App Store beats the app. The franchise brand beats the franchisee. The platform beats the landlord. Whoever controls the bottleneck, the brand, the license, the only door in, collects the profit, while everyone around them competes for the leftovers. So the next time someone offers you the honor of hosting, of building, staffing, and insuring someone else's asset, pause. Ask who keeps the upside if it works, and who eats the loss if it doesn't. If both answers are not you, congratulations, you've just been offered a World Cup. Which brings us back to that final whistle. Half the planet watched a football match. FIFA watched $9 billion arrive. The cities got their party and their receipts. Was it worth it? Depends on what you count. If you're a fan, that month was priceless. If you're a mayor, the pride might be too. But if you're an accountant, the answer is sitting on an invoice. The most profitable sporting event ever staged was profitable for exactly one address in Zurich. The scoreboard says a team won the World Cup. The books say FIFA did. Again. Like it has every 4 years, in every host country, under every flag since the beginning. The teams change, the stadiums change, the flags change. The winner doesn't. That's not luck, that's design. And now you've seen the blueprint. Next, Teardown, a company that was worth $9 billion with a product that never worked. Theranos. 1 drop of blood, 200 promised tests, 700 million investor dollars, and a machine that couldn't do the job. How did nobody check? That story is next.